Okay. Yes. So we're moving on to the next one, which is the personal history. Why do you think diet is important here?
Protein deficiencies also can be a cause of cataract, so diet will play a role in cataract. Yes, in cortical type of
Anything
cataract.
other than proteins? As carbohydrate, protein, all these things. No. So any other thing you are going to ask? I mean, you want to actually know. You're not going to ask, but just for the sake of it, because everybody is asking pathogenesis also.
Um, yeah, like any.
You think there's something in our body which acts as an antioxidant?
Yes, ma'am. Vitamin E, vitamin C, and beta carotenoids, which will act as antioxidants. So if there's deficiency of that, and even that can cause opacities in the lens because the antioxidant activity is reduced.
Yeah. Do you think if we give antioxidants, like there are many experimental things going on? Okay, we'll put some drops and cataract will go off. Anything like that you want to tell about, Suchitra?
One thing what I read was like iodide salts of calcium and potassium are being used to treat cataract, ma'am, but I'm not sure if they are actually useful in or if vitamins are useful in treating cataract.
Okay, it's not yet proved. Okay, nothing has been proved. So if somebody asks you, please give me some drops for my cataract going off. Please don't advise like that. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So there are certain conditions which are known to cause reversing of this cataract formation.
Yeah.
So any condition you are aware of that will cause reversal of this cataract process?
Ma'am, diabetes, if it's controlled, there's the progression of cataract can be reduced. And even in case of radiations, if the radiation exposure is reduced, then
No, that is like halting the process of cataract formation. I'm talking about the reversible
Yeah,
changes.
complete
Is
reversal.
there anything? Yeah, you will not see cataract in such a patient. You would have seen it in the early stage, probably in the incipient stage or lamellar separation. Now, when you see the next visit, the patient is all normal, the lens is clear.
We've already discussed this.
in case of the drugs, ma'am,
You were right
No,
before.
no.
Diabetes only, but which
Diabetes.
diabetic?
Which diabetes?
Yeah.
Juvenile kind.
Yeah.
Juvenile diabetes, ma'am.
Yeah. Very early stages. They're not like you can see a frank cataract and that is gone. That such big chunk opacity will not be gone. Only very small incipient cataract. If you see, that is probably reversed with the control of their blood sugar.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay, even in galactosemia, when you tell the patient not to take any milk or milk-related product as a kid, even then you can have a reversal.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so yeah, we'll move ahead. So with this summary of a 61-year-old female farmer who's a diabetic since 5 years on treatment and diminution of vision in the right eye since 2 years, and she's been operated. Some operation has been done to the left eye since last 1 year back. So what are your DDs now? So we've discussed so much. What do you think is the cause of her diminution of vision in the right eye?
Ma'am, most probably it's cataract because of her age and symptoms. It can also be a glaucoma of posterior open angle type of glaucoma.
See, this is the second time you told posterior.
I'm sorry, ma'am. Primary open angle glaucoma.
Angle.
Yeah.
Primary open angle glaucoma, which is asymptomatic, so that and reduction of vision, so that can also be a cause. And reduction of vision, which is gradual and painless, so maybe any degeneration of the cornea or pterygium in the conjunctiva also.
No, before that, she's a diabetic.
Diabetic.
What in diabetes? We've discussed so much already. No?
Retinopathy, ma'am. Diabetic retinopathy. That can also be a cause.
Anything else? Gradual, painless, progressive diminution of vision.
Any macular degenerations, ma'am, in the retina?
No, we're still in diabetes. You said diabetic retinopathy. Yeah, one thing. Diabetic macular edema, PDR causing vitreous hemorrhage, all these things you can tell.
Yes,
okay?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
All of this can cause a diminution of vision in this patient. So what you are going to do in the examination is to look for what is the cause. Okay, it can be cataract, it can be as you said POAG also, it can be these things, which most commonly cataract. We are thinking at that level right now. Fine.
Yes, ma'am.
So you can start with the general physical examination.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, patient aged about 61 years, conscious, cooperative, well-oriented to time, place, and person, moderately built and well-nourished. Height is 160 centimeter, weight is 70 kg, BMI is 27.3 kg per meter square. There's no pallor, no icterus, no cyanosis, no clubbing, no generalized lymphadenopathy, no edema.
Why would you ask for all these questions? Any significance? Like why would you do all this?
As in related to cataract, ma'am. Lymphadenopathy, like generalized edema can be seen even in protein deficiency conditions, ma'am. Like,
why would you say about BMI? Why would you talk about the nutritional
the
status?
Progression of the disease is earlier. I mean, like faster in case of in case of.
So it is basically for cause of cataract. Okay, one is nutritional deficiency. Also, it causes presenile cataract when you have any of the nutritional deficiency, when you're not properly nourished. Even that is known to cause cataract. Okay.
Anything else you want to see in head to toe in this patient? Head to toe examination.
Head to toe.
You are worried about some things in diabetics. Okay, it's skin related. Diabetic ulcers, yeah?
Okay, ma'am.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so you're going to look for any ulcers or anything. You cannot post a case which is having an active ulcer, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so you're going to do a head-to-toe examination to see for any skin related issues. Then you have to send for dermat opinion or surgery opinion, medicine opinion, all that you have to get it clear.
Yes, ma'am.
To get the sugars under control, because they have this for endophthalmitis.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So yeah, then comes present.
Vitals, pulse rate is 76 beats per minute. Blood pressure 130 by 80 mm of Hg of left arm in sitting position. Respiratory rate 17 cycles per minute. Thoraco-abdominal type. Temperature is afebrile.
Okay.
Systemic examination, cardiovascular system, sounds S1 and S2 heard, no murmurs. Respiratory system, normal vesicular breath sounds heard. Abdominal examination, no mass per abdomen, no organomegaly. CNS examination, no neurological deficit present.
You're done with your examination. Systemic. We'll go to ocular.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay, why do you do all this?
Ma'am, suppose there's any...
Suchitra.
Yes, ma'am. Suppose there's any systemic disease, we would treat the systemic disease first. Okay, ma'am. Ocular examination, head posture, normal. Facial symmetry, ocular symmetry, facial symmetry, symmetrical, ocular symmetry, symmetrical.
You want to discuss
what do you mean by, like, if you're telling head posture normal, what are the abnormal head postures that you know of?
Ma'am, either the face can be tilted or turned, which will affect the ocular movements of the eye. And there can also be ocular torticollis. There is the sternocleidomastoid will be, it will cause tilting of the head because of the vision. And
okay, so we can put it in a nice way. Okay, you can say there is face turn. Okay,
yes,
there is chin elevation and depression.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then there is a head tilt.
Tilt, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so the ones that are for face turn is when the horizontal muscles, okay, yes, are involved.
Yes, ma'am.
Horizontal extraocular muscles, when they are involved, patient usually has a face turn. if they are having head tilts, it is normally the obliques that are involved. Okay, chin elevation and depression is when the vertical muscles are involved. Okay, this is mainly in the posture would be such a way so that it compensates the action of the muscle that is not acting.
Yes, ma'am.
Supposedly one muscle is not acting, your head will turn to such a way that you need not actually see, and you need not move the eye. So that is how the 3 abnormal head postures that you have to tell. One is the face turn, chin elevation and depression, and the head tilts.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Facial symmetry. Okay, what did you check in
all
facial
these?
symmetry?
1 minute, Ramya. All these is only in case of paralytic and restrictive, where you have diplopia. If the patient doesn't have diplopia, either due to amblyopia or there is no vision in one eye or whatever is the cause, then the patient will not adopt to all these changes. Okay, even if the patient has paralytic and restrictive, that is one exception. And also in case of ptosis, the patient can have head elevation, chin lift. Okay.
Facial symmetry, Suchitra?
Ma'am, we'll check if there's any facial nerve palsy, and even if there's any third nerve palsy, if there's any third nerve palsy.
No, facial symmetry, you're basically checking the facial nerve. What do you expect if there was a facial nerve palsy?
The side which is affected will have symptoms of facial nerve palsy, like log ophthalmos, and the angle of the deviation of the angle of the mouth, and the nasolacrimal groove will be lost, and there'll be no wrinkling of the forehead, and all this can be seen.
Eye specifically?
Yeah.
There'll be lag of ophthalmos, ma'am.
Okay.
Very good. Okay, why? Why lag of ophthalmos?
Because the frontal muscle of the eye will act in helping the.
It's orbicularis. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Orbicularis oculi. It is supplied by the 7th nerve. Okay. The action of orbicularis is to close the eye.
So
when that is not there, it is going to cause lag of ophthalmos.
Lag of ophthalmos. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So next we see the ocular symmetry. How do you check for ocular symmetry?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, so Suchitra, Ramya was asking, how do you check for ocular symmetry? Any test?
Yes, ma'am. We can do a test called Hirschberg test.
Yeah. Would you mind explaining in short? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. We'll use the torchlight in a distance of about 50 centimeters from the eyes of the person, and we'll ask the client to, the patient to look into the both the eye, to look into the torchlight, and we'll see if both the eyes will have the same reflex, the same kind of action.
So you see where your torchlight lies on the cornea.
On the
okay. Yeah. So where does it lie? So this is cornea. You have pupil. So how much degrees and what? You need to discuss that, Ramya, now, or should we just skip? I think we're going to run short of time.
Actually, you can read up because we are running short of time. Yeah. So please read up about Hirschberg's test and how do you check exactly for the ocular symmetry. There's something called 15, 30 degree and 45 degree, which you can make out in the torchlight itself. So please read up upon that. Next, we'll go to, you can present the right eye fully.
Visual acuity, distant vision, counting fingers at 3 meters, near vision, not checked, pinhole, not done.
That's okay, but why is the vision so less in the left eye? I think that was operated eye.
Yes, ma'am.
Why, how would you explain?
The left eye, ma'am.
Suchitra, you did it bedside, right?
Yes, ma'am. So at bedside examination, we examine only with the the fingers.
Yeah,
we
so
don't use the charts.
It is more than 6 meters. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
It is not exactly at only. It doesn't stop at 6 meters. No, so it is more than 6 meters.
Yes,
will defend whatever you say.
Okay, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Why do you think the 6 meter thing is important?
Ma'am, because at 6 meters, light rays become parallel to the approximately parallel to the eye, and the central beam is focused on the retina well. So
anything
we
else?
use 6 meters.
The accommodation is also at rest.
Yes, ma'am, at rest. Yes, ma'am.
You know, anything you can do to predict the visual acuity after the surgery? Like you can have an idea as to how much visual acuity will come to this patient after surgery. Can you do something pre-operatively?
Yes, ma'am, we can measure her intraocular power or...
No. See, even if you do a successful, clean surgery with everything, what is the visual acuity that the patient might get after surgery? You're going to predict that. Okay, this patient might have 6/9 vision after surgery, or this patient will have 6/6 vision after surgery. This is supposed to happen. Anything you can do to predict that?
I'm not sure of that one. I don't know.
So you guys can read up about potential acuity meter and laser interferometry. This is for scoring that can be used to predict. Okay, even though there are false positives and everything happening, but still you can tell these two tests. And do you think color vision should have been checked here?
Ma'am, the right side vision is already like very less, ma'am. So I don't think her color vision would have mattered here now.
Okay. Color vision is also a macular function test. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So you can actually, if at all you do a color vision, you are actually checking for the macula as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Whether you know the macula is intact and everything. Any other macular function test you know? Suchitra?
Snellen's chart and like visual acuity and color vision.
To everybody else, please read about macular function.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Visual
they can read about.
Yeah. Please do read about macular function tests. It's very important. Okay, and can be asked. Fine. Yes, you go ahead.
Eyebrows normal, eyelids are normal, eyelashes normal, conjunctiva is normal, cornea, arcus senilis is seen, a normal in size, shape, surface, sensations and transparency. Sclera is normal, anterior chamber normal in depth and optically clear.
Okay, for the time shortage, actually you're supposed to present the right eye completely first and then we'll go to left eye. That's how it's normally done. Now, we've already discussed what all can happen in diabetes in each of this, okay? The eyelids, eyelashes, conjunctiva, cornea, everything. The only thing that is bothering here is arcus senilis. Do you think that is going to change something? Are we worried about arcus senilis when we are planning the surgery?
Ma'am, arcus senilis will have deposits. Yes, ma'am.
Anybody in the chats? Anyone? Arcus senilis, do you think it's going to affect the way we perform the surgery? No.
Ma'am, arcus senilis will be like...
I'm not able to hear you, Suchitra.
Ma'am, now can you
hear
me?
We can hear. Yeah.
Can you hear me, ma'am?
Yes.
Yeah. The arcus senilis is the deposition of the cholesterol and lipids around the cornea, ma'am. So maybe the at the so maybe
the question was not what is arcus senilis. No.
So maybe the incision
affect the surgery. Answer is yes.
Yes, ma'am, because the incision of can the point of incision or something vary?
Yeah, correct. Tell.
Because
no, you will have a clouding, no corneal clouding. So when you're making the tunnel, actually, when you're making the sclerocorneal tunnel, there can be a little problem for the surgeon. Okay, if the arcus is very dense, then you not know where the instrument is going. You are supposed to make a sclerocorneal tunnel in SICS. So if there's a very dense arcus, it's going to hamper the surgeon. All right. Then also you told about sensations. How do you check the corneal sensation? Is there any quantified method?
Ma'am, there's no quantified, but the cotton swab is what?
No, that is qualitative. I'm asking you any quantitative method for checking the corneal sensation?
Ma'am, I'm not sure of quantitative method.
Okay, people please note that there's something called as pocket bonnet aesthesiometer. This is asked in your NEET exams. Okay, please know about it. Pocket bonnet aesthesiometer, which is used to check the corneal sensations, and you can even quantify it. Okay. Next, you've written normal in depth and optically clear. So under torchlight, can you make out whether the anterior chamber is normal or deep?
Yes, ma'am. The depth is made out.
Yeah.
What can you make out
If the
torchlight.
From the torchlight, we can make out that it's optically clear, ma'am, the anterior chamber.
Okay. Now you said it's normal in depth, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So see, if you shine the torchlight at the temporal limbus and it falls in the nasal limbus, what is the conclusion?
Like it's normal in depth or it is not shallow, ma'am.
It is not normal in depth or it is deep. Okay,
yes,
so only thing you can make out is whether it is shallow or not.
Yes,
okay?
ma'am.
You cannot
whether
say
it's deep or not.
Normal as such
Yes,
on the torchlight. Fine.
So what are the causes for your shallow anterior chamber? In this case, there are many causes, but in this particular case, in case of cataract, where will you see a shallow anterior chamber?
Ma'am, in case if there's a hypermetropia, no, ma'am.
That is okay. Hypermetropia.
Intermittent cataract, ma'am. In case of intermittent cataract.
Yeah, so that indicates that your lens is swollen and it's pushing the iris forward.
Yes,
forward. And where would you see in this the other eye? If it was deep, what would you conclude? It should be deep according to me.
If it's a myopic eye, ma'am, then...
No. In case of pseudophakia also, it will be deep. In case of aphakia also, it will be deep because the normal lens is biconvex. Whatever lens you put is
flat.
The thickness is very less when compared. So the space occupying, as in the space that is occupied by your PCIOL is much less when compared to your normal biconvex lens.
Yes,
and in case of aphakia, it is obviously very deep because the whole thing is empty.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, please, for the other people, please note when you're saying optically clear, they can even ask you what are the abnormal contents in the anterior chamber. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
So you need to know what all abnormal contents are present. It can be blood, it can be pus, it can be cells, flare, and ACIOL, everything. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we'll move ahead. Yeah.
Iris is normal in color and pattern. Pupil round, regular, and reacts to light. Pupillary reaction, direct reacts briskly. Consensual reacts briskly. Lens, grayish white opacity is seen. Iris shadow seen. Orbital margins are normal. I'll present the left side also, ma'am.
What is? Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Iris is normal in color and pattern. Pupil round, regular, and reacts to light. Pupillary reaction, direct reacts briskly. Consensual reacts briskly. Lens, shimmering light reflex seen, and orbital margins are normal.
Okay, so the pupil is actually the window to your retina and the optic nerve. So the very fact that it is regular, round, and reactive rules out so many things. Now we'll come to the lens that you've written it as grayish white opacity and an iris shadow seen. What do you mean by this iris shadow?
Iris shadow is when the torchlight is like shine from an angle, ma'am, either nasal or temporal, usually the temporal side, because the lens is, in case of immature cataract, is partially opaque and partially clear. The opaque part of it acts as a screen for the iris to form an image on it. I mean, to form a shadow on it. So that will be seen as an iris shadow in case of immature cataract.
And what is the shimmering light reflex you've written?
Shimmering light reflex is because of the like if in case there's a intraocular lens placed, then we'll see a shimmering light reflex.
How will you explain it? Like how do you actually see? I'm doing it.
I don't know, ma'am. I didn't get you.
When you shine a torchlight, okay, you're going to see one reflex which is moving in this direction and the other one this way.
Okay, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
That is called as the shimmering light.
Shimmering light. Yes, ma'am.
Will you see that in aphakia?
No, ma'am.
Okay, what will you see in aphakia?
The pupil will be jet black, ma'am, and in place of lens, there'll be nothing, ma'am. So it'll just be the jet black pupil that will be seen.
Okay.
And in case of pseudophakia and in aphakia, there'll be some amount of iridodonesis also. If at all it is seen, then you can mention. If it is not seen, then don't mention.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So yeah.
Ocular movements, ductions are normal in all directions. The adduction, abduction, and external and internal. And versions free and full in all. Yes, ma'am. Elevation and depression.
You can't just mum it off. Okay.
Versions free and full in all directions.
Yeah.
Is there any other binocular movement? disjugate
Yes,
bilateral
ma'am.
movements?
Like convergence and divergence.
Okay, so you can even mention that, all right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Would you like to say something about the lacrimal apparatus?
Yes, ma'am. Lacrimal apparatus. We can do a Roplast test. That
Very
is
good.
a regurgitation on pressure on lacrimal sac. So, like first the orbital margin is felt, and then on the medial canthus when we apply pressure. In case there's no yes, ma'am,
Correct.
So,
If there is nothing inside the lacrimal
yes, ma'am.
sac, you press it, then nothing will
Nothing
come
will
out.
come
There's
out.
no
Suppose,
discharge,
yes,
nothing.
ma'am.
Yeah. So
Suppose there's a block or anything in the nasolacrimal duct, then there can be mucus or any secretions that can come out.
that is collected inside. That
Yes,
gets
ma'am.
secondarily infected, and that's when you press it. That is chronic dacryocystitis. You press
Yes,
it with
ma'am.
your little finger. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yeah. So come to your diagnosis now. After everything.
The provisional diagnosis is the case of right eye senile immature cataract and left eye pseudophakia.
So how would you go about this case? Now you have a patient, 61-year-old female farmer with diabetes since 5 years, who's come with right eye senile immature cataract and left eye pseudophakia. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I just summarized your case. Now what will you do? You have the patient sitting in your OPD.
Ma'am, first we'll do like workup of the patient, we'll check her blood sugar levels and her CBC and and then her BP and then like the serological tests all that we'll do, and
Yes,
then we'll go to her eye ocular related tests, like we'll check for visual acuity.
You just told about the systemic things that you'll do first. That is BP, sugar, serology, and you will check when you have to get one ECG also done.
Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
Why do you think ECG is important?
Ma'am, suppose there's any arrhythmia or any other problem, then we'll have to first treat those causes and then the management of the patient.
While doing surgery, are you bothered about something?
Some reflex.
Yes, ma'am. Oculocardiac reflex.
Exactly.
Yes, then we use anesthetic. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. So
yes,
you have to be prepared for that.
Yes,
okay. So you do an ECG also, and then you send him to medicine, send her to medicine OPD, then get a anesthesia opinion. Everything is done. So finally, you are very happy that your anesthesia friend has given fitness. Everybody said, okay, carry on. Next what?
Yeah. So what are the options you would like to give to a patient? What surgery can he undergo according to what? Like based on what?
Ma'am, the surgeries can be extraocular, extracapsular surgeries, like it can be small incision cataract surgery or phacoemulsification or flax.
Very good. Okay, so you come according to the history. Okay, first is ICC, then ECC, then SICS, then you have phacoemulsification. A second.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So what exactly do you understand by ICC? In general, I'm asking. How much ever you understand, you can tell. What is ICC?
ICC is the lens is removed completely along with the anterior and the posterior capsule. So
the whole of the capsule.
The whole of it is removed. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So you don't make any capsulotomy, nothing along, though you just pull the whole thing out.
Yes,
it is one point to be added. It is difficult to do it in young patients, less than 40 years. It is very difficult.
Yes,
okay,
yes,
so it is mostly reserved for later cases where you feel that the posterior capsule is too weak, or there are the zonules are not intact, whatever might be the case.
Yes, ma'am.
Suchitra, what is the only indication now for us to do ICC?
If there's suppose any dislocation of the lens or subluxation of the lens, ma'am, or if there's any dehiscence of the zonules, then we'll go for ICC, because it's
okay. Stop your answer there.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. Continue with
for UG, it is enough to know that if there is zonular dialysis, then you can proceed. For PGs, you might have to mention how many clock hours and what exactly would you like to proceed with. If there are certain options apart from ICC you would like to offer to the patient.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so ICC is done. Then ECC, what do you understand by that?
ECC is extracapsular cataract extraction, where the posterior capsule is left behind, like it's left behind, ma'am, and the anterior capsule will make a capsulotomy, will make an opening in the anterior capsule, and then remove only the nucleus, I mean the cortex and the nucleus of the lens.
Yeah, so you remove whatever is there, then you do irrigation and you place posterior chamber IOL.
Yes, ma'am.
In ICC, you can't. You will have to leave the patient aphakic.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then we'll come to the incision size and all later. But would you like to go ahead with SICS? What exactly is the difference between ECC and SICS? Advantages, disadvantages?
Yes, ma'am. In ECC and SICS, ma'am, the ECC incision is made like of about 8 to 9 centimeter, and then the lens is removed through it. In SICS, a sclerocorneal tunnel is made, a small portal of entry is made, and then the nucleus and capsule is
so incision, you read about the incision millimeter length in each thing, okay? ICC, ECC and SICS. Okay, it is different. So you just read it is not 8 to 9 centimeter. Centimeter will be a lot.
I mean millimeter, ma'am. I mean, sorry. It's millimeter.
I think it is somewhere in 5.5 to 6 mm, SICS.
Yes, ma'am.
For ECC, it is more. They say the clock hours dimension. Anyway, you can read about it. Okay, one is this. The other one, advantage of SICS over ECC.
Advantage of SIC is advantage of there's no astigmatism, ma'am, because the incision is smaller.
Small, and where is it placed? Where is the incision in the?
The incision is like in EC C. The incision is in the the limbus, ma'am.
Yeah.
In case of SICS, it's in the it's above, ma'am. It's either in the cornea.
Scleral.
I'm sorry, ma'am.
Above is scleral.
Yes,
okay. And it is uniplanar, biplanar, triplanar. What is it? Does that make a difference?
Ma'am, I'm not sure.
The planes?
I'm not
somebody
sure.
Saying self-sealing. What do you mean? That same thing is
why is it? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Like in case of ECC, we must place sutures for the thing to heal, ma'am. The incision to heal, but in case of SICS and phacoemulsification, the sutures are not required. It heals by itself.
Just a minute. See, this is your cornea, okay? And this is the extension. So this is your cornea and this is the extension, okay? This is the sclera, fine? So what self-sealing ma'am is telling is, you go like this, you make a scleral incision, then you go into a tunnel that is in between the layers of your sclera and cornea, okay? So you have a incision, then you have a tunnel, then you go tip into the anterior chamber. So it becomes 3 planes, okay? Triplanar. That is how it is self-sealing. You do not have to put a suture there, fine? So you have a, can you visualize it? This is the cornea and the extension is the sclera. So you put one incision like this, and then you made a tunnel up to the cornea, and then you go inside it, okay? That is the anterior chamber entry. So you have a zigzag, I mean like this, okay? That is a triplanar incision, and that's why it is self-sealing. You do not have to put a suture there, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, you would want to continue?
Yeah, I was just answering this. Somebody is asking okay. They wanted to know about the dialysis.
Okay,
for UGs, it is sufficient for them to know in case of zonular dialysis, you can proceed with ICCA because the zonules are not intact. So your capsular bag will not be in a position to hold the posterior chamber IOL. And for PGs, if it is a PG who is asking, then you would like to answer, Ramya? How would you proceed? If there is a zonular dialysis of up to 2 clock hours, then you would proceed with your SICS or phaco. Up to 2 clock hours, it will not matter. You can proceed with it. The rest of the zonules will support. Just make sure that your irrigation and whatever aspiration height. Yeah, you can proceed. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we come back to, how this patient has to be dealt with. So he's in the OPD. She's in the OPD. You've checked the vision and you've checked everything. So the first thing you would want to do is a slit lamp examination. So whatever you have told is the torchlight. So in slit lamp examination, you would want to see about the cornea. You would do a specula to see the endothelial count. Okay, you would want to see everything from the lid till the retina. You would want to check everything. If there is a mild meibomitis, blepharitis, even then you are not supposed to do the surgery. Okay, because the most dreaded post-operative complication is endophthalmitis. So please check, even in the stack and conjunctiva you've already told. So blepharitis and mebomitis is something that we also look for. And then you will also check for the corneal endothelial count, because that is also going to get affected. Then you will see the anterior chamber, how much is the depth and everything. Then you can see the lens, and there's something called as LOCS. Do you know what that is, Suchitra?
Yeah.
Okay, it need not be asked, but that's how you grade the cataract. Okay, so you have to grade the cataract before going for a surgery. So LOCS is nothing but lens opacification classification. Okay, lens opacity classification. So they have certain pictures.
Yes, ma'am. Till like nuclear cortical. Yes, ma'am. N6 till N6 in nuclear, C5 in cortical, and good. P5 in posterior subcapsular.
Very, very good.
Thank
you. Yeah, very nice, very nice. Okay, so mainly when you're posting for surgery, you are bothered about whether it's a cortical, it's a nuclear, or it's a posterior subcapsular, posterior polar, only this much, okay? So you're very much worried about that and the grade of the nucleus, because if you're doing phaco, then your settings change according to the hardness of the nucleus. Right? So you're going to grade the cataract, then you're going to look for the posterior segment, which we've not talked to rule out, okay? For UGs, okay, if you're not able to see the posterior segment due to the cataract, obviously, what can you do? What investigation you can do? Basic investigation, just to make sure that the retina is in place or not. Very easy, come on, please.
Fundoscopy and slit lamp.
Fundoscopy you can't. So any machine you would like to use? That is there in ophthalm department only.
Question is, Suchitra, you have a very dense cataract. Imagine. Yes, somebody is saying A scan. No, not A scan.
Close to it. What is next? If not A scan, then what next?
Say B scan, and then C or D, and everything will come up.
So they will know what is B scan.
Okay, so please read about B scan. Okay, yeah, B scan is an ultrasonography of the eye, which will make sure that the retina is in place or not. Okay, at least that much you can do. Yes, if you're not able to see the retina at all.
Okay.
Okay.
Just one thing, you would like to know how this cataract, like what is the normal sequelae? How does it mature? There are two different things. One is cortical, one is nuclear. Differentiated. Okay, nuclear means affects the nucleus. Nucleus is inside. Cortex is outside. This is the basic anatomy. So if it is cortical cataract, it will opacify the cortex, like our periphery. That is where you see your cuneiform cataract, and cupulliform will be mostly posterior, along with the posterior subcapsular. So that matures in a different way, and nuclear cataract matures in a different way. Somebody knows how it matures? What are the stages of cataract formation?
Yes, ma'am. Should I tell, ma'am?
Yeah, please.
Okay, ma'am. There are basically first it's the lamellar stage where because the water enters and the fibers of the lens are separated, and then you have the incipient stage where there are multiple small opacities in the cataract, and then after that you have the immature stage. In the immature stage, you can differentiate whether it's a nuclear cataract or in cortical whether it's a cuneiform cataract or a cupulliform cataract. In case of cuneiform cataract, the opacities are in the form of wedge and in the periphery of the lens.
So here in this stage, I just like to ask one question. In which quadrant would you first notice this opacity?
The inferonasal quadrant
of
the eye.
Yes, that is good. Yeah.
And then after that you have after that it can either be the cupulliform or the posterior subcapsular cataract, where it's in the middle, along the visual axis, in the middle of the lens will have the cataract.
Along the posterior capsule,
Yes, ma'am. And
next.
And then the nuclear cataract, you will have.
What then? It doesn't mature beyond this.
Yes, ma'am. It can become mature cataract. In mature cataract, the whole of the lens is opacified. After there can be hypermature cataract. The hypermature cataract can have two forms. One is sclerotic and one is Morganian hypermature cataract. In case of Morganian hypermature cataract, there will be liquefaction or degeneration of the lens, and
what happens? How does it become intumescent? Morganian.
The intumescent is the swelling of the lens because of excessive hydration of the lens.
So that is
the
breach in the anterior capsule where the fluid from the aqueous enters into the lens capsule and then it becomes swollen. That is your intumescent. Yeah.
Yes,
then the other one is Morganian.
Morganian and yes, ma'am.
What happens in Morganian?
Morganian, there is liquefaction and degeneration of the cortex of the lens, and the nucleus being dense, it sinks down.
Yeah, sinks down. Yeah.
Sinks down. Yes, ma'am.
Or it can either get shrunk. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
This is the cortical cataract. What happens to the nuclear?
In case of nuclear cataract, it's basically because of dehydration and because of which there is increase in the insoluble proteins in the nucleus.
That is cataractogenesis. I just want to know the stages. Name them.
In nuclear, there's pigmentation and
what pigments? Like what color?
Yes,
the color
yellow,
changes now.
Yellow, amber, brown, and then black. Sometimes it can also be red.
Black is actually not included. It is from green. It starts from green, then yellow, then amber, then brown. And black is considered as very hard. That is your mature cataract.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And since you yourself told about the etiopathogenesis, like what is the pathogenesis of cataract formation, would you like to explain? There are three like the pathogenesis, how it happens.
Yes, ma'am. In case of cortical cataract, there is the etiopathogenesis. There is decreased functioning of the sodium-potassium channel. So there's increase in the sodium and decrease in the potassium. And there's a decrease in the protein, amino acids and proteins, and also there is increase in the water in the lens. All these will lead to the opacification of the lens. In case
basically, it is hydration. It cannot balance. When there is hydration, there is opacification of lens. This is one pathogenesis. Okay, simple. Yes. The second one is?
In case of nuclear cataract, it's dehydration, because of which the insoluble proteins will increase in the lens.
Denaturation of your soluble proteins.
Denaturation of the soluble proteins, and that causes.
That's when your cataract develops. The third one is
the pigmentation of the lens because of the amino acids like tryptophan. There can be melanin, urochrome, such pigments depositing in the lens.
Urochrome is one such pigment. Very good. You have to mention, if they ask which pigment, then it is urochrome.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. So we have a patient here who has already been there's something called as the cataract workup that has to be done. That includes your A scan, and somebody please write in the chat section what is SRK formula. Okay, someone please answer that. SRK formula, and what does it stand for?
You can just write it.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, just write it. Please know, because this is commonly asked for everybody. Full form of SRK and what is the formula. And in order to, in that formula, you have so many things, okay, A, L, K and all that. So basically remember the K is the keratometry, where you have to do, you have to get the keratometry values. That is the corneal curvature. And L is, correct.
Somebody has written very good. No, it's not me, it's somebody else. Okay. We have another Akshata here. It's not me.
Okay. Okay, so that is correct. A is nothing but the constant for that IOL that you're going to be placing. K is the keratometry and L is the axial length. Now, axial length is seen by the A scan, okay? Sanders, Redzalf, Kraft formula. So, do you know of any other formulas that can be used? That also you can answer in the chat section. Other formulas that can be used for checking the IOL. SRK is very...
Holiday, very good. Somebody is answering.
Holiday.
Very
Anything
nice.
Else?
Okay, we'll proceed quickly to the complications before we run short of time.
Sure. Very good. So you've actually got the IOL power that you want to put in the patient, and you've done everything so that you post the patient for surgery. So right on the table, you're going to perform the surgery, that is either by SICS or phacoemulsification, depending on the economic status and the condition of the patient. So what are the complications will come? So please classify it under headings, okay? So complications of cataract can be pre-surgery, during the surgery, okay? Early post-op, delayed post-op, and IOL related. So you have 5 subheadings under complications that can be pre-operative complications, operative complications, early post-op, late post-op, and IOL related. Okay, so this is very well given in most of the textbooks, but just so that we cover, anybody knows, you can please keep on typing on the chat section. In the pre-operative, we have the anxiety, and patient is anxious, so you have to give them any anti-anxiolytic drug, and anxiolytic drug basically. And if you are using too many medications, also they can develop conjunctivitis, so that, okay, that also has to be taken care of. Some people also give some IOL lowering agent, which is the best textbook, ma'am. For UGs, you can read Khurana. It gives everything, but I don't know how far you'll remember. In order for you to remember, you should read Parsons, okay?
Parsons, to understand Parsons and to remember probably Khurana.
Yeah, so for you to write it in the exam, okay, as point wise, you can take Khurana, but in order to understand what is written in Khurana and remember it and understand it, you should read Parsons. Okay, so yeah, we were coming back to this thing, complications. So pre-op you've done, intro-op you can start with the anesthesia itself. Okay, so anesthesia-related complications can be oculocardiac reflex, as we told. It can give to, it is a blind procedure, so there can be a globe rupture also in inexperienced hands. Okay, it can give rise to hemorrhage, retrobulbar hemorrhage also. That is in case of retrobulbar block. Most of the time you use a peribulbar block, or nowadays
somebody can write the difference between peribulbar and retrobulbar block in the chat section if they know.
Yeah, someone please, you can write what is peribulbar and what is retrobulbar. Okay,
just so the difference.
Next, after your anesthesia, at each step you can have complications. Okay, at every step. So once you okay, just one question. So what is the first step? I think most of you know that it's a superior rectus bridle suture. Okay, so when you're putting a superior rectus bridle suture, why is the eye moving downward? Superior rectus should make the eye move upward, no? You can answer.
They know the yeah.
Okay, superior rectus usually moves the eye upward, but when you are putting a bridle suture, the eye moves downward. Why is it? Okay, I'll be continuing. I'll be waiting for the answer on the chat section. Okay, so yeah, you'll put the superior rectus suture. There can be complications of laceration, okay, muscle laceration. Then when you do a fornix-based conjunctival flap, again, action is not lost. Action is there. Action is lost because of the anesthesia that you have given. But why does it have to go down? Okay, so next, coming to your conjunctiva, then cautery, there can be excessive bleeding there if the patient is hypertensive. Then we will give an incision in the scleral. When you're making the incision, you can have a buttonholing, scleral disinsertion, or you can have a premature entry. All this is given in your books. Please read up. Okay. Then you can have
maybe if they have any question related to certain complication, they can ask, because to enlist it's all given in the book. If there is anything that you want to specifically ask them, like any tricky question, then you can put, because I think we are running short of time.
Yeah,
we can't complete
actually
anything.
Short of time, so just that, please somebody answer.
We've exceeded the time actually.
Yeah, we're extremely sorry, but yeah, this one question. If you're holding the superior rectus, which is actually acting as an elevator, why does it have? Why you're putting a rectus, superior rectus bridle? Because you want to make the eye go down. No. Inferior rectus is no muscle is acting after the anesthesia. No muscle is acting.
You put the suture to the superior rectus and then you tie it, right? So you pull it and you tie it. So what is the globe undergoing? Like the physics, if you have seen the surgery, if at all, if you are privileged to see the surgery, then you would probably, weight of the eyeball, no, weight remains the same. Okay, and the patient is lying flat. Yeah, you can give up.
I'll just give you a hint. See, any muscle action is when you stand at the origin and you pull from the insertion, it will come up, correct? That's how you learnt in anatomy. Okay, you imagine yourself standing at the origin and pull the muscle. That is how the action of the muscle is going to be. But here, what are you pulling? You're not pulling the origin of the muscle. Okay, it's the insertion. You're holding at the insertion site and you're pulling it downward. Okay, so that is why the action is going to be the opposite. You are holding at the insertion site and then you're going to pull, as ma'am said, you're going to put the traction, so the eye is going to move downward. Okay. Somebody asked regarding what is the IOL dialing. Okay. So once you do the surgery, once you do the surgery, you're going to place the IOL. The order in which you hold the IOL is in the question mark form. So if you have a 3 3-piece IOL, it's like this, okay? So when you hold and you put the IOL, it is going to be in the vertical plane. When you use a Sinskey hook or a dialer and then you just dial it so that it comes as the horizontal, that is nothing but IOL dialing, okay? So that
you
it
have to
sits
place it
properly
inside
in
the bag.
capsular
Yeah. So one haptic will be inside the bag. The other one that is towards you will not be inside because the opening capsulotomy is small. So one will go inside. The other one you have to dial it. You have to rotate it like how you dial it. So you dial it and place the other haptic also inside the bag.
Okay,
Any other question?
I think, yeah, we are okay for 1 or 2 more questions, and later
So,
I think you can either
if
text
somebody
ma'am
can
or me.
answer a cause of endophthalmitis, like early and late, the organism, if somebody can give out, then I would be glad.
Very commonly asked in your NEET exam.
And when do you see early and delayed?
Even, some very good.
Yeah, but what is it for? Please
You
explain.
just written propionibacterium. Am I supposed to understand it is early, late?
And what exactly? Propionibacterium?
Early?
It's late.
Late, okay.
It is for late, acne.
Okay, yeah, Suchitra is also answering good. Okay, staff is for early. Okay.
Early. Very
Okay.
good.
So what do you do for endophthalmitis? What do you do for endophthalmitis? What's the treatment? Just the gentamicin. What will you give? Enucleation. No, wait.
You don't remove the eye, don't.
You have a better option.
No evisceration. Intravitreal, somebody's come with intravitreal.
You're answering right, that it's intravitreal injections. Okay, when you have the capacity to salvage the eye, please don't remove it. Okay?
So for the undergraduates, it's enough to know that you give intravitreal antibiotics. What do you give? Antibiotics, and along with that, if it is because of bacteria, you give intravitreal steroids also.
Okay, no. This
along with your topic.
All is for panophthalmitis, okay?
Very destructive.
Nowadays, we are converting the cataract surgery also as a refractive surgery, okay? So you do not talk about evisceration and things like that. Even a cataract surgery,
okay.
because it's becoming so demanding that everybody wants 6/6 vision even after cataract surgery, okay? So actually, we missed, ma'am, that point that if somebody has, you can presbyopia, you can even give them a monovision, that is one eye, non-dominant eye, you can correct it little diopters more so that in one eye they are seeing for the distance and the other eye they are comfortable with the near vision. That's called as monovision. Or else if they are affordable, then you can go ahead with the multifocal IOLs or accommodative IOLs, okay? We had discussed this in the beginning, so I'm just completing that. Any last one question? Anybody wants to ask anything? Any question, any comments, anything you want to say, you can say now. Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, do you know any systemic syndromes? One last question. Any systemic syndromes that you are very familiar and is known to cause, like, a part of it is causing cataract, like cataract is included in it. Any
Down syndrome.
Down syndrome, yes, of course. Apart from that, any movie you've seen not recent, but in the past that you've come across, he's played a role of that syndrome and you should name it. I could give out the movie's name, probably, if you can name the syndrome. No, it's not Rechocolin. Pa movie, something to do with Pa.
Wow.
Yes, progeria, but what is the syndrome's name? I want the name. No, Hutchison. Given in the book.
It's homework for you guys.
Yeah, probably. You can read it up.
So we are going to end with a homework that you need to find out the syndrome. We thank everybody, all the participants, Suchitra, Akshata ma'am, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We thank the White Army core committee team and everybody to give us this opportunity. I hope that this session was something useful for all the people, because everybody invariably has to present a cataract case and a pseudophakia case to pass your third year. Okay, so with all the thanks, we'll end the session now.